Welcome to our 39th and final edition of 805 Sports Talk for the 2016 year. Yes, this is our final show of the year. To my right, once again, is Kenny Kress, and Lorenzo's to my left. So this is our final show of the year, so we're going to kind of wrap up things, go over some of our top stories of the year. But our biggest story from this last weekend, if you picked up Sunday's edition of the Lompoc Record or the Santa Maria Times, we had our big all-area football spread with so many of the top area players featured, and our area MVP is Lompoc Junior Toa Taua. He had a tremendous season, so he is our most valuable player in the area. That counts, northern Santa Barbara County, Slow County, so I think he definitely proved himself throughout the year, and it was not a tough choice to choose Toa as our all-area MVP. It was a unanimous choice. He had a tremendous year. He's mainly known as a defensive guy throughout his first 2 years at the varsity level. He was a great defensive player, was productive on offense, but this year he took his offensive game to another level, rushing for more than 1,700 yards, nearly 30 offensive touchdowns. So it was quite an easy choice to pick Toa Taua. And the interesting thing is he'll have another chance to win it next year. He will be a senior this following season, but it's the third time a Taua brother has won this award. Back in 2005, Vi Taua at Cabrillo won it. And then in 2013, Ainu Taua, who's now playing at UCLA, won that award. And with Ainu winning, it was very rare because he's mostly a defensive player. We don't have too many of those defensive players winning on MVP awards, but he took the award, and then Toa made it 3 for those brothers. So it wasn't a hard choice to pick Toa. But there were a little more difficult choices there. Offensive Player of the Year, there were just so many great offensive players this year. But I went with Mike McCoy for my Offensive Player of the Year. He's a senior. He accounted for something like 36 total touchdowns if you count every which way, throwing, running. He even returned a fumble for a touchdown. I think he might have had another return for a touchdown. But so many great offensive players this year were in the mix. You could have picked anybody from the area. CJ Cole had a great year over there at St. Joseph. He was in the mix. AG just had a tremendous season with Sawyer May running, passing, doing a little bit of everything, and then Napomo had a couple of guys that could have been in that mix as well. So Offensive Player of the Year was tough. Defensive Player of the Year was another unanimous winner. That was Fenton Will over at St. Joseph. Just looking at his whole body of work, he was a pretty easy choice. I think he had only almost 20 tackles for loss this year from a linebacker. That's huge. That's a huge number. Nearly 100 total tackles. So Fenton Will, that was a pretty easy choice. And once again, Isaac Black, he's been, maybe the top lineman in the area over at Lompoc. He won this award last year. He was the LPL Most Valuable Lineman, and he's won that award 2 years in a row. So Isaac Black is our lineman of the year. He just kind of epitomizes what you want out of a lineman. He'll play on both sides of the ball in the trenches. He'll play in the center of that defensive line. He can play on the end a little bit, and he's all over that offensive line. So he had a great season. I think it was a pretty easy pick to select Isaac Black as our lineman of the year. All-purpose player of the year was Matt Sill over at Arroyo Grande. He had a tremendous season catching the ball. He was a threat running the ball. He played a little bit of defense as well. So those were our top, award choices, and everybody was pretty worthy. Not too many difficult decisions. We had a unanimous decision with Toa winning, and then Dan Ellington is our coach of the year. That was also unanimous with the job that he did at Santa Maria. So it was a lot of fun putting that together. We try to get every worthy player on that team that we think fits. And every year we usually hear some feedback from the people who read it, our readers, saying maybe this kid should have been first team, this kid might have not made the cut. But we try to include everybody that we think is worthy, and it's a lot of fun to put that together, and it's a lot of work as well. So it was good to see that come together. Lorenzo, I know you put the MVP story together. You had a chance to catch up with Toa, and he also had some big news this week. Picked up the offer from Iowa State. What was it like putting that story together and talking to Toa about winning the MVP award?
It was a lot of fun, and you know what? One of the things I've noticed about Toa is that he's become a lot more humble, according to what Lompoc coaches are telling me. And he made sure that he gave thanks to his offensive line, his coaching staff, and the Lompoc community in general for basically becoming the village that's helping raise Toa now. As far as the Iowa State offer, that actually came in about a couple of days ago, and kicker is that this is the first Big 12 offer. So when you get that Big 12 offer, I've seen this over the years, when you get that offer from one of the Power Fives, it's just going to open this huge floodgate. So I won't be shocked to see SEC schools maybe other Pac-12 schools. Maybe our alma mater, Fresno State, might also make a run as well with Jeff Tedford coming in. But, you know, it was a lot of fun watching him play. It was also a lot of fun just getting his feedback on winning the MVP award and, you know, just adding to that Taua legacy that he talks about.
Yeah, you talk about Taua's recruiting lately. I think it's going to be real interesting to see how that plays out, and I can't wait to see him play at the next level. But with what he did offensively this year, I want to see if, you know, some schools start thinking about, or maybe Toa starts thinking about playing offense at the next level, because all I've heard with him is just defense, defense, defense. You know, maybe a safety. He was supposed to be playing more safety this year, but with the way he ran the ball this year, I know Lompoc's offensive line was great, but he looked great, you know, offensively this year.
Andrew Jones had pointed out that a lot of colleges he's talking to, they're interested in what Taua brings to the table as a safety. But there are those colleges, especially as of late, that have become more interested in him as a running back. I know one school in particular is Arizona, and it looks like Rich Rodriguez is coming back for another go-round. So Arizona might be in the mix of perhaps extending an offer to Toa, maybe perhaps as a running back. But again, it's definitely one that we're going to have to keep a close eye on.
Yeah, and I think Fresno State has kind of raised its profile recently with the way Tedford's been recruiting like crazy. He's picked
I've been wanting you to say that.
He's been picking up a lot of JUCO kids, and I think, you know, it'd be good to see him going after Taua. He's a great player over here in our area, you know, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, see if Fresno State gets in the mix. There have been some schools that got in early. Washington State, I think, may have been his first offer.
Yeah,
Hawaii
was
there as well, so it'll be interesting to see how it picks up, you know, coming up here. And Kenny, you put together our Coach of the Year story, Dan Ellington, unanimous choice. I think our last Santa Maria coach to win that award was Jim Doyle in 2001. So that goes to show the job that Coach Ellington has done over there at Santa Maria. They did finish 5-5. They showed tremendous improvement, battled for that Northern League championship. How was it putting together that story and talking to Coach Ellington about winning this award?
Dan was very. I appreciated how grateful Dan was for getting the award, but he was certainly deserving. Oh, they were so close to getting a co-championship. They lost by 7 points to Mission Prep and 6 points to Napomo, and I believe it was a late score that Napomo beat them with. But to finish 5-5, considering where they had come from, it is a big accomplishment. I think Dan was correct. It was the perfect storm. It was the right combination. Everything just seemed to fit. The talent seemed on an upswing from what they had before. They obviously bought into what the staff was doing. The staff was a good fit with Dan. They all just seemed to mesh together very well. What I was very impressed was with Dan abandoned this is the way we've done it before. This is the way we will do it throughout the year mentality. He figured that the offense that they were running was not working. He figured the veer attack just did not fit quarterback Blake Truitt's talent's best, nor his running back's best. So they went to more of an inside-out zone read, with a lot of inside running, outside running with Blake, with some timely passing from Blake Jonan, and that offense proved to be a pretty prolific scoring unit, actually, as the year went along. And I think that was a big part of the reason why they're as good as they were, and they also got some key defensive stops. So that was a nice story. I was happy to see Dan get that award.
And I think it's good how you wrote that story and talking to Ellington about how we switched it up, because we tend to look at, you know, the team's record, if they made the playoffs, how they finished in their league or whatnot, but to actually focus and analyze what they did as a coach is very important. You saw that with Dan Ellington getting, you know, I think it was after the Cabrillo game, they decided to move on from the veer, you know, run that zone read offense a little bit. And you saw Tony Dodge at Napomo kind of mix it up too. They were more spread, and then they went to the power running game with Isaac Bosley and, you know, J.J. Ramirez a little bit.
That paid off
and hitting some big passes, and they turned their season around. So it's good to kind of analyze what the coaches do on the field, you know, mixing it up, game planning and stuff like that. And, you know, I think Dan Ellington did a great job this year riding the ship after that Cabrillo loss and, you know, having this team finish strong.
I almost get the feeling that Ellington himself was the one who really saved the season for the Saints, because, you know, this is a veteran guy. I mean, I may not know Ellington too well, but I know he's a pretty prominent name in this area. And with a lot of coaches who's been in the game for a long period of time, sometimes they think what worked then still works now. But it's a credit to Ellington for realizing that, you know what he's doing isn't working. He needs to cater more to the player's strengths, and that's a sign of not only a veteran coach but a successful coach.
Yeah, and I got to take a moment to talk about our 2015 Coach of the Year. It was Tom Goosen over at Arroyo Grande. It was found out last week on Friday. He announced that he's retiring after 10 years as head coach. I think he came to Arroyo Grande in '86, so he's been there for a long time. And just talking with Coach Goosen over the years, he was a great coach, great guy to talk to. Just had so many fun stories. He was always helpful with the media. We do our media days the last couple of years. They come all the way from Arroyo Grande over to join in our media day, take photos, do interviews. Always generous with his time, and just a great coach. And he's just done an amazing job over there at Arroyo Grande the last couple of years, winning a championship in 2011, doing such a great job with those tremendous players they've had throughout the years, and developing that program. And I think he's leaving that program in good hands. I know there's a lot of good coaches in the area. There's going to be a lot of people applying for that job. I know it's a sought-after job, so that head coaching job is going to be interesting to see who can fill those shoes, but I think he's done a tremendous job with that program.
I think if you're Arroyo Grande, you had to replace a legend like John Huss, and you replaced him with Tom Goosen. So to me, it pretty much only feels right that Arroyo Grande will go after that rising assistant who's already on the staff now. Whoever it is, it remains to be seen, but, I'll tell you this, Arroyo Grande has long been the face of San Luis Obispo County football. It's realistically the job to have in this area.
Yeah, and we know Goosen's stepping down, and this is Dwight McDonald's last year as AD. Those guys go hand in hand with just the quality people that they are. Talking to Dwight over the years, he's great, so helpful, with the media from our perspective, and it just shows in their program with how much success they have on the field, off the field. They send so many kids away to colleges. We saw on signing day earlier this year for football players, Sam Ness and Matt Siller both going to the Pomona Pitcher Schools, Claremont Schools over there. So it shows you so many kids go off to colleges. I know that's not their main goal as ADs, but they're quality people over there. And I got to mention Mike McCossin as well. He's always a lot of fun to talk to. Great football coach. He's the assistant AD. He'll be stepping down as well. So it's kind of a change of guard over there, but they already filled the AD position. Will be Stephen Field, who's an AG grad. He's a throws coach. He was a great discus thrower over there. He's also a football coach who will stay on coaching football. So there are a little change of guard over there, a new era starting at AG, but I know they're going to fill those positions with people who know the Arroyo Grande way and how they do things over there at Arroyo Grande.
I'll really miss all the three that are leaving, but I'm very happy that Stephen Field moving into the 80 spot.
Yeah, so I think that program is going to be in good hands. I know that school will be just fine, with who they're bringing in and kind of changing over with those Eagles. But it will be interesting to see who tries to fill Goosen's shoes after the tremendous job he's done there as head coach. I think he won 85 games in 10 years, so that's almost 9 games a year with the CIF championship mixed in there. And they had a lot of success when he was, an assistant coach there under Huss. Moving on to some of our top stories of the year, since this is our final show of 2016, we always put together our top 10 stories at this time. Sometimes we have to kind of stretch a little bit, reach a little bit to fill them, but this year that was not the case with the Olympic runs that our locals had, with Danny Duffy pitching in the majors, having a tremendous year. We had so many top stories this year. Kenny, you've been here for so long. You follow this closely throughout the year. I know you usually keep a little list, with some of your favorite stories of the year. What do you think your favorite story is of 2016, and some other stories that you would like to highlight?
Well, actually, as a sidelight, as far as pure quantity, we would have had enough to make a second top 10 if we'd so desired. But the Lompoc softball team winning CIF sectional title, I voted for that one as one of our top 10 stories. That was certainly a fun story to cover. Jacob Rayburn, who was here before, did a really good job chronicling that and covering that. The 3 Olympic stories, those were extra special, I thought. Josh Prino, an Orchid guy, got a silver medal. Cammie Craig was on another gold medal winning U.S. women's water polo team. Carlos Balderas of Santa Maria made the quarterfinals in the Olympics. Three really good stories there. Those were some of the ones I thought were some of the real highlights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have, every 4 years, obviously, we follow our locals who are trying to make the Olympics. Sometimes we have, like in 2012, we had Dwayne Solomon there, Stephanie Brown-Trapton competed, and Cammie Craig was there, and they don't do well, or they make a final or something like that. Dwayne Solomon did great in 2012 to finish fourth in the 800, but this year I think it was tremendous the way we had three people from the area compete there, and they all did fairly well. Carlos Balderas, he didn't get to a medal bout, but he was great over there in Rio. People were really excited around here. People love boxing in this area, and to see how he represented the area and the country was really great to see. And then Josh Purnell obviously was this close to winning a gold medal, still won silver, which is huge. And he's kind of a rising star now. I think he signed with Adidas Swimming, so he's probably going to be focused on coming back for the next Olympics in 2020. And then of course Cammie Craig, Santa Ynez girl, did great with that water polo team. I think she's won 3 medals now. She's the only American, at least, to win 3 Olympic medals in water polo, and she's got back-to-back golds. So the way our locals represented themselves at the Rio Olympics was huge. And I think splitting those up, I think Josh Purnell winning silver was probably the highlight, the best story I would pick for 2016, just the way he did that on his own in an individual sport to compete the way he did and pull out a silver medal was huge. And you mentioned the Lompoc girls softball. I think that's a really underrated story and still kind of an underdog story with what they did. Little Lompoc beating St. Bonnie, I think they beat over there. They beat Silverado, I think, in the quarterfinals, and then to win the championship game the way they did, that was huge. That was amazing. And our coverage is really good at that, to follow Jacob going with them on the road and win those games was huge. So there was so many great stories. Even Danny Duffy, the way he pitched this year, had that great game against the Rays, and he's agreed to pitch in the WBC. So that's going to be a lot of fun to see in just the year he had. Lorenzo, you haven't been with us the whole year, but I know you're an area guy. You love following the area stories. What were some of your favorite stories from 2016?
I love the Purnell story, and the crazy thing is that I happen to know his father because I used to work at Marshalia Ranch, and he was an avid golfer, and he would bring little Josh Purnell over to the golf course. But just seeing a local guy just take home the silver, take home any kind of medal, that's going to spark even more interest for swimming in this area. Now, one of my most favorite games that I got a chance to watch in my time here was the game down in Costa Mesa. I mean, Lompoc Corona Del Mar. It was just an exhilarating back and forth battle to the point where it's one of those games you're going to be talking about for the next 5 to 10 years with just how it unfolded, with the 18-point lead that was blown, the double pass that made me think that Lompoc was going to retake this game, and then the final climatic drive with Chase Garbers leading that whole orchestra. So those were two things right there that really stuck out in my mind.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder what could have been, because you saw Corona Del Mar go on and nearly beat Sierra Canyon, and I think Sierra Canyon went on to win a state championship. So it shows you that Lompoc was real close to being at that level. If they could have held on to beat Corona Del Mar, who knows if they could have given Sierra Canyon a run for its money in the next round. So I think that was a great game. You were lucky enough to be there and catch that in action. I know it didn't turn out how the Lompoc faithful would have liked to have seen it, but it was a great game nonetheless, that's for sure. And another one of our top stories was St. Joseph boys basketball winning a CIF championship, and it looks like they might even be better this year. Lorenzo, you had a chance on Monday to go catch them in action at the Mission Prep Christmas Classic. What do you think of the Knights on Monday night?
They're as good as advertised, especially with JoJo Walker. I guess Walker wasn't all that highly recruited because the way I look at it, he looks like he could be a guy who could play in the Mountain West, maybe even the Pac-12. I already became a huge fan of how he was just able to attack the basket and also bring what I like to call those Allen Iverson-like crossovers, especially against a team with a lot of speed and a lot of tradition like Sarah. One other name I also was very impressed with was, and I hope I get this name right, Elihu Cobb. He's their top post guy. He had 7 blocks against the Sarah team. Only about 6'6", but you know what? At the high school level, if you're 6'6", you're a pretty standout guy for a post player. But judging from what I saw from Tom Mott and his crew, St. Joseph looks to be a force once again this upcoming year.
Yeah, so I think St. Joseph probably is clearly, going to be the top boys basketball team in the area. Kenny, you've been following maybe the top girls basketball team in the area. Rigetti got a big win today, playing at the Santa Barbara Tournament of Champions.
Yes, that was a real eye-opener. Rigetti was off to a good start as it was. Barely lost on a buzzer beater to a very solid Camarillo team. And today they beat Buena of Ventura, which had been 9-0 by 13 points, 64-51. So they got a very solid win there. Danita Astorga seems to be right in form. She scored 16 points. Zane Sheckard put in 12, and she made 3 3-pointers. They made 9 3-pointers to Buena's 4, which helped make the difference in the game. So, Rigetti seems to be on track for a big year.
Yeah, and we hope to see them soon. They start Pac-8 League play January 3rd, so we hope to catch them in action, and we want to bring the action to you guys as well. We are planning on broadcasting that game January 3rd. Rigetti hosts Arroyo Grande. That's always been a pretty big Pac-8 League rivalry, and that's their league opener for both teams. Is going to be at Rigetti January 3rd. That's a Tuesday night. We will be webcasting from Rigetti High School. It should be a fun atmosphere. We don't know if it's going to be that great of a game. Rigetti's just been so good this year, and Arroyo Grande's lost to Ashlyn Hurley, who was just a tremendous talent. So we're going to see if AG can challenge Rigetti this year. It's been an interesting Pac-8 League run for those teams the last couple of years. Mission Prep has kind of stepped up as well. So we're going to be bringing you boys and girls basketball live webcasts throughout the early new year. So be sure to check that out Tuesday, January 3rd. That's all we got for this week's show, and that's all we got for 2016. It's been a fun year. We nearly put together 40 episodes of 805 Sports Talk. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next year.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.